What we focus on with our clients is becoming trusted advisors to them. And sometimes that means a detriment to ourselves. So we have a rule here that if we're upselling to a client, do we genuinely believe they need what we're selling to them? And if they don't bother selling it, because, a lot of our clients we've worked with 5 years now. We have a really good relationship with the founder or the owner. And I don't want to jeopardize that for a quick buck.
Hi, everyone. This is Joshua Hoffman and Alex Garashenko, and welcome to another episode of the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast, where we deconstruct the why and how agency owners found their success. And in season 3, this is episode 1, discuss the community side of marketing. Today, I have Henry McIntosh, the director of 2112 Marketing, a marketing agency that helps businesses consistently generate quality new business inquiries. Welcome, Henry.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
From all the way across the pond. And speaking of ponds, I guess I want to open up with a story that you mentioned to us last time. And that is that you grew up right next to, I guess, Henley-on-Thames. I hope I'm saying that right, which is a big rowing city. And you had some very interesting visitors stay at your parents' house during one of the regattas. So can you tell us who that was and why they stayed with you? Yeah,
absolutely. So good pronunciation, first of all. And it's actually a really tiny town. So think that population of like 11,000 people. But then when this regatta's on, it's the Royal Regatta. So people come from all over the world, hundreds of thousands of visitors come every year for it. So it's a massive event. And my family always hosted rowers. So they put rowers up. So they'd stay with us, they'd compete. And one year we had the Winklevoss twins stay with us. So it was only one of them. It was Tyler. I think from memory. I was quite young at the time. And he must have been rowing for Harvard at the time. So he stayed with us. Which is quite cool. And actually, as an agency, we derive our name from the regatta. So the length of the course is 2,112 meters. And we wanted to kind of position ourselves in the town because the town's quite a well-known entity within England and beyond in certain areas. So we wanted to give ourselves a brand story and we used the regatta to do that.
I didn't know that name part. Thank you for throwing that in there. And then there's a scene in Social Network where they're rowing in England. Is that supposed to be the same course?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So he's with the kind of host dad, I think, which never actually happened. But yeah, it was Henley Regatta. So there you go. It's kind of a weird connection. Then obviously we watched the Social Network, watched it all unfold, and we were like, wow, okay. Yeah, so that's something else, right? He stayed at our house. But I mean, we've also had like Olympic gold medalists stay. And what's really cool about some of the rowers is we had a South African force stay once. And my dad was kind of like, I think they're really good. They're the South African national team. So he decided to Google them and they were Olympic gold medalists. And they didn't tell us that. They were super humble. They just got on with it. And they went and I think they won the tournament as you'd expect them to. But it's cool who you can meet through it as well.
That's amazing. Social Network, the movie, it's one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. And anytime I need like some oomph in my entrepreneurship or, just some like motivation, I literally watch that movie. I get so pumped when I watch that movie. So now let's fast forward a few years into your college where you set up a successful company during, I guess it was the summer of your first year. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it was me and one of my friends and we were pretty skint, as we'd call it in England. So we had no money and we just got together and we said, look, let's do a Zoom call or whatever platform it was at the time, probably like Skype. And we were like, we're going to come up with an idea to make some money. And at the time when you joined our university as a fresher, you get given a pack and you get given this pack of like goodies, which is like stuff that's going to help you, right, in your first week and fun stuff. And at the university, it's divided up into different halls. So all of these different halls have sports teams. They have their own logos. They have their own chants. There's like rivalries between them. So we decided to leverage that. And what we came up with was creating these branded shot glasses. And we added the logo of all the halls to the shot glasses. And then rather than selling them individually, we went to the people who ran the halls and ran the Freshers Week. And we said, hey, we can put these in your Freshers packs. Would you like them? So we were selling like 400 in one go to some of the halls, and not all of them went for it. And we did this, and we were quite successful with it. And then we got an email from the university, and we were like, oh no, what have we done? And they were like, you need to stop doing it. You're encouraging irresponsible drinking. And this is probably where the kind of interest in marketing came from, because we went back and we were like, actually, we're encouraging people to measure what they drink. Because, a shot glass is a measurement after all. And amazingly, they let us get away with it. Whether they just thought it's not worth the fight, pedantic university students, we're not going to bother. So we kept it going for another couple of years, and then just sort of parked it when we were out of university and looking for jobs.
Did you learn anything building that company that you take to your current company?
I mean, it was super small. So it's difficult to call it a company because it was me and him. We like added these stickers to the shot glasses ourselves, like hundreds of them, well, thousands of them. And then we delivered them ourselves in his like clapped out old banger of a car. And if I learned any lesson, it was actually that the probably the main thing was not going, because I think when you're younger, you think every business is kind of you're going direct to consumer, right? And you're so focused on the consumer, especially when you have a product like that. And what we realized was it was so much easier to find the right individual, hit them with the right message at the right time, which included a lot of benefits to them, right? Because they've got this budget to spend and they don't really know what to put in these packs. What's going to be interesting, what's going to be cool. I want it to be better than the other halls. So finding the right person, the right message, the right time. And I suppose we have really taken that on with 2112, because a lot of our clients are in quite high ticket spaces. So target markets are super finite. And it was the same here. There were only, I don't know how many there are, but like 12 halls, right? So there were technically 12 people we were really reaching out to. So you either succeeded or you didn't, right? And with 2112, some of our clients are in like engineering and very specific areas of engineering where they have a finite amount of people they can actually reach out to. So we can't upset them or spam them. It's got to be spot on in terms of the messaging that we send to them. So yeah, I suppose learn that and learn how to maybe deal with a little bit of bad press in terms of the university coming back at us. But yeah, that's probably about it.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to flag there, because we're going to bring it up in another second, is that you kind of came up with a different way of selling, or I almost would call it like tier one thinking, where I can just sell to the students, right? And like, yeah, you could do that, but it's very 1-1-1, like all the sales are individual, as opposed to kind of go, I guess you'd call it B2B. It wasn't, I don't know if it was technically a business, the hall itself. But I just want to highlight, because I want to get back to it in a second, that you did a different way of just, instead of direct selling, there was kind of a different way of getting around it, or a partnership. So before I rebring that up, I just wanted to kind of talk about your current business right now, 2112 Marketing. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So we've been going for 8 years now. We are a hybrid agency. So during the pandemic, we had an office. No one stepped foot in it for 6 months. It was costing us a lot of money, so we got rid of it. So we've got employees in London and the home counties, and we're a small team, so there are only 5 of us. But what we feel really makes us different is that we focus on what we call commercial collaborations. So it's a form of partnership marketing, effectively, but we've kind of added our own stamp on it. So a lot of the projects and especially the challenges our clients are facing are around how to generate leads, but also how to generate quality leads. So our clients don't really need volume. They need the right leads that aren't going to waste their time. And so that's kind of where we come in, and we're industry agnostic. So our clients vary from hospitality to sport to financial services, engineering, education. So it's massively broad, which I suppose for a demand generation agency can be a bit strange, because a lot of the best ones, I would say, are industry specific. But really our niche is about, we come at it from a partnerships angle.
Yeah, I think that's great. And obviously, we are announcing, I guess, season 3, being, we're trying to build a community with a lot of the alumni that come as guests and essentially try to share services with each other and partner when you need help. And you obviously, last time we spoke, you helped us through that a lot. But I guess I'm wondering, how did you actually land on that type of service? Did you start from the get-go with that type of thing? Or did you run into a project that you weren't getting any kind of attention and then you try something different? Like, how did that all come about?
Yeah, I wish we started with it. I'd, be sat in the south of France right now if we did. But no, it's been a long journey. It's been a long journey. And in terms of our clients and who we work with, we're forever talking to them about, what's your point of difference? What makes you different from your competitors? And we work with a lot of companies who they might be in highly competitive spaces where their service or their product gives them no point of difference whatsoever. So mortgages, wealth management are good examples of that, where really anyone worth their salt should be offering a similar level of service. So with that in mind, we were looking at our own brand. And when we first started out, we had a niche, and our niche was that we were an agency that specialized in working with luxury brands. So that was really born out of my freelance career, where I started as a luxury copywriter. I worked for a luxury magazine as a journalist and things like that. So we started with that luxury niche. And what happened was we were getting really good results in luxury, but we were also getting offered other projects which were just too good to turn down when you're in your infancy and you're going, wow, they can pay a lot. And what we tended to find with luxury was it was a little bit all fur and no knickers. So it's a lot of pomp and it's a lot of, hey, it's super expensive products, but actually in terms of cash in the bank, if you want to work with really, cash positive businesses that are going to invest in their marketing and reinvest when you get them results, actually what we found eventually was those spaces like engineering and financial services were the ones where we could kind of consistently work with them, consistently generate results, and get paid our worth, And in terms of finding this commercial collaborations angle, it actually happened. We worked with, and this is going to sound really weird because I'm a trained copywriter, and our website was rubbish like two years ago, and we'd write it and rewrite it internally, and we'd never do anything with it. And eventually I said, you know what? I'm the problem. I'm the bottleneck. So we outsourced it to a company we'd met, creative duo, a copywriter and a designer, and they took it and they ran with it and they worked with us on our proposition and our positioning. And that kind of made us look at our most successful case studies. And we looked at them and we were like, what's the trend between them? Should we just specialize in financial services? Or, it never feels like we should be niche to an industry, because we're getting really good results for people in hospitality or engineering. Like, we don't want to lose that. And what we realized was every single case study we had, there was an element of partnership marketing, a really strong element. So I kind of looked at that and felt really, really stupid when it kind of hit me slap in the face. And I turned to my team and I was like, we're rebranding to the Commercial Collaborations Agency. And they were like, that sounds a bit impulsive. I wanted to do it instantly. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is it. This is who we are. this is our point of difference. But yeah, it took me probably the best part of 7 years to realize it. So if anyone's listening who's struggling to differentiate themselves, as a trained copywriter, it took me 7 years, which probably says a lot.
That's interesting, because I mean, I've had the same issue on our end as well. For example, our Doodle applications website is, as you would put it, rubbish right now. We haven't updated in a long time. We've started to update it multiple times, and we just started it again. So hopefully this time it goes through. But our Dev Noodle site, where we focus on our subscription stuff, we initially worked with another agency to help kickstart it, and then we took it over. So it's interesting how, like, you worked with another copywriter to kind of act as the catalyst to make that change, and through it, you found a way to completely change your business. I think that speaks a lot to ultimately like collaborations in the marketing industry.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so powerful. And it sometimes admitting to yourself when you are the bottleneck, and getting in the way of your progress, because it can be really difficult, right, to see it for yourself. And when you're kind of going round in circles like we were, you just need to reach out. And I think you're right in terms of marketing, in terms of collaborations within marketing. We all know an agency that calls themselves full service, and they've got like 2 people and their dog working for them. Like it's absolute rubbish, right? You can't possibly be full service. Yet they won't refer any work out. They'll take on every project under the sun, from SEO through to whatever else that there is out there, graphic design, all sorts of different things, videography. And they become an outsource agency, and they become like this sales machine with very limited expertise. And actually in the UK, what's kind of thriving right now with these collectives of agencies, so especially independent agencies, where and one of which is Pimento, which we're part of, which is a collection of the independent marketing and advertising agencies, or some of them. And they've got around, 100 plus members, but everyone there's overlap between us, but a lot of people have their nuances. They have their specialism, and it encourages you to go, when a project lands on your desk, and we know how hard it is when you're starting out, you kind of take on everything, right? There's that Richard Branson thing of never saying no, just figuring out how to do it, which actually is just really dangerous advice in marketing, because it take you years to figure it out and then it's changed. But it kind of encourages you then to refer. And what happens when you start referring really openly and being really generous with it is people start to reciprocate, and people start to give you leads back which are right for you. And when you get the right projects and you have the processes in place to execute for them, that's when things start to fall into place, really. So I just realized, hey, I need to refer it to Kieran and Simon. They're called agency called Sold, and they're just fantastic. So, even if I lost copywriting work to them as a result of this call, I wouldn't begrudge it at all, because sometimes there's loads of work out there, right? And it's about doing the work that's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as part of season 3 of this show, we're planning to go into building the community now that we have approximately 50 episodes under our belt with this show. We've interviewed a lot of marketing agency owners, and it was interesting is the conversation with you was kind of a pivotal point for us. Josh and I really from that point started talking about, let's build the agency, or let's build the community for the agencies. And what was interesting is in our discovery call in preparation for this podcast, which we actually ended up, it was so good that we ended up publishing. So if you're listening to this, it should be attached. We're going to work with our production team to make sure it is, as a bonus footage. It's like 10, 15 minutes, but it's great. So give that a listen. you went through and you actually you gave us a framework of the commercial collaborations, which I think we're going to use as the source to build this community. I mean, it's still in flux and we'll figure it out. But can you go through and tell us kind of the framework? You were telling us that there's 3 different segments of collaboration, then add in whatever else, because that was so valuable.
Yeah, for sure. So, when we started this journey, this repositioning, we looked at our different case studies. And the reason I think we'd never noticed the partnership marketing element is because each of them has its nuances and quite big differences between the way we approached each one. But they were all driven by how do we get the best commercial results for our clients. So what we actually found was that we categorized it into 4 different chunks. The first one being reciprocal. But the problem with reciprocal is we're talking referrals, and referrals can be unpredictable and really difficult to scale. So we're talking about when you join a networking event, right? These networking events like a BNI or networking group, sorry, and you have one discipline for every single seat, and you just refer to the people opposite you, right? So the lawyer in the room refers to the accountant, and vice versa, who refers to the wealth manager, and it goes on and on. And we've always kind of been like, how do you scale referrals within a business? Because referrals are the lifeblood of most businesses, and they're the easiest to convert, right? So we were kind of like reciprocal kind of leads with, it has its place, but that's not something we're going to look at today. We're going to look at how you create, if you're a wealth manager and you can sell to lawyers and accountants are your best referral partners, how do we create a massive community of lawyers and accountants who see you as the go-to authority? Aside from that, we categorize the other 3. And the first is value exchange. So a value exchange is a non-financial agreement between 2 or more complementary but non-competitive businesses, or it could be an individual even, that drives commercial results. So the example I just gave is actually an example that is one of our case studies for a wealth management client who came to us, and their clients, they'll only work with people with over £1 million in funds under management. So it's super difficult to reach those people and build trust with them. And, they're not going to compete on Google. They're a small business, that they're going to get squashed by the big guys. So we needed a different approach. So what we looked at was, okay, your best referral partners are lawyers and accountants. What we know about lawyers and accountants is that they have to undergo about 20 hours of CPD every year. So why don't we make ourselves one of the areas that they get these CPDs from? So this continuous professional development, let's provide that as a resource to them, and let's build it up so that from a partner to an associate, all of them can benefit, because the associate will one day become the partner, right? And we'll position our client, Beaufort Wealth Management, as the go-to authority. So the idea behind the CPDs and behind the marketing for Beaufort was, we will empower you as a law firm or an accountancy practice to offer, to enhance your client offering by educating you on financial planning effectively. And what kind of happened from there was, we get people along to these webinars, these CPDs, and we position Beaufort as the authority, and the referrals have ticked up. We also create a newsletter around it, a lot of LinkedIn content, and we angle it not at their end client, it's all at the strategic partners. So the value exchange is kind of, okay, the lawyers and the accountants win because they tick off CPD and they maybe enhance their service. Our client wins because they generate referrals at scale that don't waste their small team's time, because they're coming from highly educated referrers who understand what quality lead looks like to them. And the trust is already built, right? So they can convert. So that's kind of the value exchange. And, we've got some other examples of that where We've generated enterprise level leads by actually partnering one of our clients with their own clients to create content. And then the next two, we have incentivized. So this is where you offer commission for referrals. So we did this for a mortgage broker. We knew estate agents were a great referrer of business for them. So we went out and we targeted independent estate agents. And we used a case study of someone they previously worked with. And we went, look how much you can earn. And we helped this mortgage broker structure everything about this, from the messaging to how much they should pay their introducers. And we took it to market. And over, I think it was 12 months, we gained them 9 new introducers into the business. The top 2 were averaging just under 40 leads per month into this business, but they were all super high quality leads. And they were paying out, I think it generated, the top 2 generated just under 20K in revenue per month for the business. So as a small mortgage broker, it wasn't insignificant, right, in terms of that revenue. And then you've got 7 other partners that are referring to you as well. But obviously we were paying quite a healthy commission on that. But the idea behind it was, okay, look, we'll pay you for the mortgage we write, but any business we do after that, the client is ours, right? So you get commission on the first bit of work. And we knew, if you get a mortgage, you're probably going to buy life insurance, right? Because you don't want to leave your partner in the lurch. We also knew that our communications for them were good enough that we might upsell them private medical insurance. We might upsell them income protection, which are products over here that, a lot of people will buy into. So we knew the lifetime value of the customer would be great enough that the initial commission wouldn't matter. So we actually paid a sort of market leading commission to acquire the estate agents. So we went about 5% above what most people would offer, because we just knew, let's acquire the clients, let's spend a lot on acquiring them, and we'll nurture them over time. And over time, that lifetime value will go up. And the final one is what we call sponsored collaborations, where you take a smaller brand and it might be a brand no one's ever heard of. So they've got really low trust. They might be a startup brand looking to gain traction quickly. And what we look to do is partner them with a bigger brand or a household name who has the know-like trust of their ideal target market. But what's in it for the bigger brand? Why would you be bothered about this? So effectively, we call it sponsored because we pay to play. So we go to them and we offer to pay them a certain amount. Some bigger brands already have this set up, right, and will be open to it. Others, you've got to negotiate with them, which often can lead to a reduced fee, because you can kind of come and go, well, we're opening a new revenue stream for you here. We'll give you an idea about how that could work, but let's sort something out. So we did this for another mortgage broker who we partnered with a really well-known travel brand. And this was a startup mortgage broker. They had no data to their name whatsoever. And we partnered them with this well-known travel brand in the UK called lastminute.com. You might have them in the US, I don't know. But they have 1 million subscribers, right? And we paid to reach a segment of their subscribers. We decided to run a competition in tandem with lastminute.com. And basically the competition would appear on all their channels. But what we also knew was competition data's rubbish. So what we made every entrant do, is they'd have to complete a quiz. They'd have to complete a quiz about their homeowner status. So did they own their own home? If they did, when did the initial term on their mortgage end? Did they have life insurance? If they didn't own a home, were they looking to buy? And if so, when? So we send them down this quiz. And by virtue of this collaboration, we took the mortgage client from 0 to 10,000 subscribers in just over a month. We also generated about 100 sales qualified leads directly from the competition. And then what we were able to do is take that 10,000, segment them up based on their answers to the quiz, and hit them with highly personalized outreach from then on. So what that's done over the past 18 months has actually led to a consistent flow of leads. because we're not hitting first-time buyers up with buy-to-let mortgage information or irrelevant information. And it also gave our client this repeatable structure. So they realized that actually partnerships and through collaborations, they could grow, and they could grow incredibly quickly. So they've leveraged that and gone on to partner with other businesses that kind of suited them. So that's kind of the three: value exchange, sponsored, and incentivized.
That was great.
Any campaigns that you weren't sure was going to work, and either did or didn't, or maybe something that you weren't sure was going to tie to the original service enough, or whatever it is, anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'd go back always in value exchange. You're kind of like, it's a bit more content marketing focused. Where's the incentive? So the one that stands out for me is our client profitability. So they do gamified learning solutions for enterprise level companies. So their clients are people like PepsiCo, AstraZeneca. And when they came to us, they had a new CEO. It was January 2020. So we were hurtling into lockdown. I think we went in March 2020 over here. And their whole lead gen strategy is 30-year-old business, I think. Their whole lead gen strategy was around events. And this caused two problems, basically. First was the pandemic, obviously. The second was there are only 3 or 4 relevant events every year for them. So they were like, we need to diversify. We need a different approach. And they wanted more enterprise level leads. So it was no easy task. So when I went in, I was skeptical about what we could do, because I was like, we haven't actually done enterprise level lead generation before. Who are the partners here we could work with? And the partners weren't very forthcoming at first. And I thought, we're going to struggle here. And in the end, we took a step back and we looked at what was their strongest asset. And their strongest asset was actually their clients. Their clients were super well-known brands, right? PepsiCo, AstraZeneca. The decision makers there, they had great relationships with, like the learning and development directors at these companies. So we flipped it on its head, and rather than partnering with other businesses who had access to the target market, we partnered with the target market itself. We partnered with the learning and development directors at their client companies. And we started doing webinars, which were invitation only for senior leaders, which featured panel discussions with profitability's clients. So people like those learning development directors of PepsiCo and AstraZeneca. And what it did was we realized that often within your network, you have a load of your peers. So I don't know about you guys, but within my LinkedIn network, there's tons of marketing agencies. We ran an event the other day and we had, out of a room of 26, I think we had 5 agencies there because they're good referral partners. But if you wanted to target marketing agencies, a good way to do it is to actually look at other marketing agencies' networks, right, and leverage those. So by virtue of this collaboration, and we got the learning and development directors to share it out to their network, post it on LinkedIn, stuff like that. We were driving in really good people into these webinars, and it was creating really good discussions. We sent surveys post, and what we did was we gathered data on an insight from these leaders who were attending, and eventually we turned it into this 30-page white paper. And we took this white paper and we did classic cold outreach, where we took it to all their competitors and went to Coca-Cola and we said, hey, do you want to see what the learning and development director at PepsiCo is up to? And they were like, yeah, of course. Send me the white paper. Started conversations that way. And we generated some really quality leads with people like Deloitte, IBM, Microsoft, Just Eat, Danone. But the proof's in the pudding. And with us, it's always about conversion. And from the previous year to the year, that year that we're working with profitability, they saw their sales increase 80% year on year. So I'm not putting that just down to our strategy. We were the only marketing agency they were working with, the only marketing function they had. But the new CEO was super dynamic as well. But so we were pretty proud, and we still work with them now, a few years on. So that relationship's kind of blossomed, and we found a kind of, again, we found a strategy that works for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask, do you have any initial thoughts as we build our community as to how we would position other agency, like, for example, for you in our community, what would be the best way for us to position you in the community? It could be any type of medium that we want. But if you had to tell your story of what your agency does and the point of difference that you have to other marketing agency owners, what do you think would be the best method or medium for it?
Is in the messaging specifically, or kind of the channel?
I would say more in the less the messaging, more of the like the strategy. Like a couple of ideas just to kind of show you where my head's at. I was thinking potentially we can do clips. We ask each marketing agency owner, what makes you different from other marketing agency owners? And we attach it to potentially a profile within the community so that people can see, like, okay, here's a 60-second clip of what makes Henry and his 2112 agency different. And people can watch that. The other one is potentially like roundtables. We were thinking of, we would do a roundtable around a specific topic, invite certain people, certain owners that are specialized in that area to be kind of like the panel potentially. And then others can just come and join and learn to create kind of that, like the value exchange that you mentioned in the first example. So along those ideas, that's what we're kind of brainstorming right now.
Yeah, I think that both great ideas, right? I think that there's also an element to building out your profile. So kind of, LinkedIn won't tell you so much, but you could have a profile. So you have your 60-second video, you have some case studies, you maybe have some text as well, because depending on who you are, like quite often I prefer reading, to be honest, to watching video, which sounds a bit silly, but I quite often find I can just get through it quicker. But also, like, I think there's an interesting point around proximity and who you work with well. So there's always kind of a food chain, isn't there? And I don't mean that in terms of size. What I mean by that is there are certain businesses that are more predisposed to referring to certain other businesses. So, and it depends where you come in the cycle. So if you're a branding agency, you're right at the start of that journey of regeneration, right? And you may or may not do websites. And if you're a specialist, you probably don't. And you probably refer it to the web designer who refers to the copywriter, so on and so forth. Sorry. And sometimes it's difficult you always feel like you need to reciprocate, but sometimes it's difficult because of your place in the food chain that it's really difficult to go back, right? So a copywriter, you write the website, but you're always at that point where you're only needed for that side of things and maybe ongoing, and your clients rarely come to you for the website. So it's maybe understanding that in terms of who you work well with, who you want to reach, and just being super direct about that, because it can be helpful, right? Because I think why some of the networking groups I've worked with in the past haven't worked is because kind of that there's this idea that you can work with everyone. And you end up taking the same meetings over and over again with people who you can only refer to them, and you feel like they can never refer to you. So we get loads of meetings with videographers because they feel, hey, it's perfect. You've got a lot of hospitality, you've got some sports clients, and everyone needs video, right? But we end up inundated with them, but we've never had a referral from a videographer. So I'd kind of be like, look, I'm more than happy to talk to some of them, but can we minimize that a little bit, and can we actually start talking to, say, some agencies that might be better suited to us, right? Like maybe a PR agency would suit us better if we could, get to see some of them more. So I think it's being quite direct about it, and naturally when you sit in these networking events, you end up in a clique, don't you? So you end up referring to the same 2 people out of a room of 20. And these networks kind of become similar. So it's important to understand what silo you're operating in, but also, like, I love the round table idea, the discussions you mentioned is really powerful because it just educates everyone, right? Like, I'd love to join some that, if you had an SEO discussion, it might empower me to understand how to refer them better. I'm never going to sit down and start an SEO agency, but it would be helpful, right? So yeah, that would kind of be my take. I'm not sure whether that's helpful or not, but I kind of think, portal or a profile, and you could just, also it's searchable, right? You could search for who you want at any one time. So it picks up those keywords like, I need partnership marketing. Okay, I'm just going to type in partnership. Who comes up? Okay, 2112 come up and this other agency come up. I'll go speak to both of them. I'll refer my clients to both of them and they can choose who's best out of the pitch. So that's kind of what I would see, but I don't know whether you're sat there thinking that's a lot of work.
No, that sounds great. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, you went into like the makings of a profile, right? Like initially, I don't know what to put on the profile. I was thinking video, but the other points that you mentioned, back to my notes, like case studies, having links out to those, where in the cycle they fall into. Who do you work well with? Who do you want to reach? And then like the give and take, right? It's, you may give to videographers, but in terms of the take, you want to meet more of something else. So
yeah, for sure. So, it's always got to be a way off, and I don't think a lot of the communities, because they're so commercially focused in terms of trying to extract money out of their members, I would say they kind of lose sight of that, and it becomes about statistics, and it becomes about, well, we did get you 10 meetings this month, and it's like, yeah, but you wasted my time with 9 of those meetings. And actually, I get that I've got to provide value into the network, but if we could make it that 50% of the time I'm supporting people who could supply me and my clients, and the other 50% I'm pitching, prospecting, that's something I'm willing to do, because a community is about give and take, right? You've got to be putting stuff in. You can't be all take. That's not how it works. So I think it's finding that really careful balance. And also, if you guys are coming at it in terms of with the vision of, hey, we're running and we're creating this community to maybe upskill your staff and stuff like that, but also to generate leads for your own business, it's maybe a better model than kind of you're looking to monetize the community itself in a straight up, you pay a subscription fee, right? Or you take like what Pimento do is they take a 10% cut of any business that's referred in the network, which is fair enough. But we had a major like asset management firm come to us once, and we were like, we can't deal with this. They're way too big for us. So we referred it into the network. And it was really interesting because this contract that was on the table was about $1 million a year, right? And the agency said, there's not enough margin in this for us to give away 10%. Wow. So at that certain point, at those levels, they were like, can we negotiate that? Because we're going to get, their procurement are going to squash us, right? And they're going to make sure that there isn't loads of profit margin. They didn't end up winning it, but this was years ago, and it kind of opened my eyes to that. Actually, when you're talking about profit margins, especially at that level, you've got to be a bit more careful, and maybe the network doesn't work, and maybe there's got to be tiers, or you remove the percentage altogether, right?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we started this podcast off of that notion, is to get leads. Our main target market is marketing agencies, and the production team that helps us with this is Podcast Chef, and they've done a great job. So we together with them identified our target market on LinkedIn, and similar to, so it was actually them reaching out to you through my profile, and then seeing if you're a fit. We did the discovery call. Obviously, that was great in and of its own. We learned a lot, and so it leads us into it. So the progression of this show has led us to this community aspect, and more than seeing the community be monetized, I just see the community as just an asset for the organization, like in and of itself. Because if there's people there, they're getting value, they're driving value to us, whether it's in the form of, first and foremost is great for any business, financial value. Second is learning, ability to expand your services and do more for your client. So it's kind of just been this evolution. And we've been talking to Podcast Chef as well throughout the process, and they're starting to position community into their initial sales process instead of just saying, hey, start a podcast. It's, this is an investment over 6 months, a year, where you can actually go and build your community. And then you have an additional piece, like an additional asset for your organization. It's perpetual once you get it started.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. Because interestingly, when we have what we call the 3S approach here, and the first of those 3 S's is speed. And what we mean by that is when we go in and we work with a new client, the first thing we look at is what are the quickest wins. And the quickest wins always start with the data you already own, so your brand aware audiences. So if we went into a company and they had a community they built and educated, it would be an absolute goldmine. But also you'd probably think that they're savvy enough that they built that community to do exactly what we're talking about, right? Which is create brand aware audiences through education and content marketing that they can then leverage, right, to drive leads, both from the community and referrals from the community. So I think it's a super powerful idea. And I think Podcast Chef, adding that community element is so powerful. Might need to talk to them actually.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was gonna kind of start to wrap this up and say I love that this is turning into a strategy session, and if you need to send your bill, send it over to Alex. So a few questions I tend to ask at the end, and we actually came up with this question because of you in our last conversation, and now we're asking it every single time. And obviously it's going to encompass a lot of what we talked about, but how can you work with other marketing agencies, and what services can you partner with other agencies?
Yeah, it's a great question. So
you just gave yourself credit on that one. That's
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So in terms of, I suppose we've got to live, we've got to practice what we preach, and at a certain point, there's always overlap with what we do. I mean, just last week I had a meeting with a guy who calls himself the collaboration junkie. And what he does is amazing. He teaches people about partnership marketing, and he has different tiers, right? But he's all about giving businesses the tools to run it themselves, right? But as you can imagine, like with business coaching or whatever else, quite often those companies then turn around and go, actually, it's a lot of work. It's a lot more work. We want the outcomes, but it's difficult to execute. Maybe we can't execute as well as a copywriter or someone could do. So at that point, we kind of talked, and we were like, hey, we're both selling collaborations, but we're perfect referral partners, because a lot of my clients at the same time don't want a full-blown agency to implement for them. They want to go do it themselves. They've maybe got marketing resources sat there, it's not really performing. Hey, well, we'll go talk to Dave at the collaboration junkie, because he'll train them for you, and you'll be able to execute at a small level. And maybe at that point they've done that, and then they come back to us because they want to add scale to it, right? So I think there's loads of opportunities, even within businesses that feel really close to you. But at the same time, our clients have the same needs as any business, right? They need new websites. At a certain point, we might say, hey, the partnership angle's growing like crazy, but have you considered SEO? It's going to help us. It's going to help you. If we've got more data to work with, that's great. They might need to be rebranded, and or they might need work on their positioning. And sometimes we don't feel we're the correct people to do that. So we're always, what we focus on with our clients is becoming trusted advisors to them. And sometimes that means a detriment to ourselves. So we have a rule here that if we're upselling to a client, do we genuinely believe they need what we're selling to them? And if they don't bother selling it, because a lot of our clients we've worked with 5 years now. We have a really good relationship with the founder or the owner, and I don't want to jeopardize that for a quick buck. So, and sometimes they ask us for things and we're not the right agency. So we send them to a specialist, which just builds the trust, right? So for me, it's about having the client's best interest in mind, focusing on what you're good at and delivering that, and then everything around it, you advise them on, right? And you advise them. Some of them come to us and go, we're not sure about this supplier, and we will advise on it. So yeah, I think there's abundance of opportunities. There's loads of work to go around, right?
Even your answer to that question, you referred someone else. So man, it is just in your blood to do that. It's pretty amazing, man. 2 more questions. Are you guys looking to hire any positions right now?
Yeah, funnily enough, we've just offered someone a job literally before I got on this call. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully they accept, I should say. I'll be careful. But we're looking to grow quite quickly. So we feel like we've truly found our niche. We are delivering for our clients. Our clients are scaling up what they're doing with us. It feels like a really good time at the agency right now. So next year we'll want to add to that. So roles will become available. So keep an eye on it. If people are looking, just connect with me on LinkedIn, because I'm always interested to hear from interesting people. Sorry. So just drop me a line with, if you want to drop me your CV, go for it.
Yeah, you get me pumped every time. I want to start a US branch for you or something. But all right, last question.
Let's talk.
I half jokingly said that and half jokingly did not meant that. So we can talk after. That's funny. Last question: any book, podcast, or newsletter recommendations?
Oh man, in terms of book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things is great. That I think that's so good. Even the title is like, this stuff is hard. Like, don't get into running a business if you're not super resilient, right? It's gonna be really difficult. So that is my book recommendation. It depends where you're at in your journey, but got loads more, but I'm probably running out of time. Podcast, I love Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you guys with Stephen Bartlett. So Diary of a CEO is cool. He gets some really, really good people on there, like top, both US and UK. Really top people. It's worth a listen to. And Stephen Bartlett in his own right is, probably a very successful agency owner who's like, I think he's 29, 30 and worth about 600-700 million. So he kind of knows what he's talking about, and it's really, really good podcast. So yeah, check it out.
Awesome. And as we come up to the end of the episode, I just want to give you an opportunity to mention how people can find you and anything else you'd like to end with.
Yeah, sure. So finding me, LinkedIn, just search Henry McIntosh. Hopefully I come up somewhere. And feel free to connect with me. What I always say when people connect on LinkedIn, because I got to the point where I had like 10,000 connections and probably knew about 200 of them, and then ended up removing right down to like 850 recently, is just add a note and tell me that you listened to this podcast and you liked it, or why you're wanting to connect. And I'll always accept if someone comes to me with that. But It's when someone just connects with you and you're like, I have no idea. I don't want to add to the fodder.
Yeah, awesome. It's a great follow-up. If someone has questions, if you listen to this episode directly for Henry, that's a great note to leave.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And for those of you who have learned something new from this episode, please consider giving us a like or a follow so we can continue getting the highest quality guests. And as always, thank you for listening, Henry. This is the longest episode because it was just filled with so much amazing content. And I think this is one of our better ones. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast. I hope you got a ton of value out of this episode. And before we go, I just want to thank our sponsors, DevNoodle. DevNoodle provides marketing agencies with the ability to offer their clients unlimited website design, build, and management services with fixed monthly plans. If website design, development, and maintenance is holding your agency back from growing, please reach out to us at devnoodle.com, where we make websites easy for you and easy for your clients. devnoodle.com.